Hi, I'm Sunny.
And I'm Connor.
These are our cars. So this is my car, E36 M3 sedan. This is a 98 model. I bought this car a little over a year ago. It had 222,000 miles, which was a lot on it. But this car is a lot nicer than a lot of the other ones I drove with a lot less miles on it. I mean, just you'll look for yourself. Like, it's pretty nice. Since I've bought it, I've done a lot of things to it. I did the whole cooling system. I kind of just use OE parts. I didn't really see a need for aftermarket. I went with the aluminum water pump or metal water pump. And then I've done some suspension work. I did front control arms. I went AKG polyurethane control arm bushings and R-tabs. What else did I done? Oh, I also did the oil pump nut wire tie, and I did oil pan gasket. Well, I was in there, and engine mounts, whatever. I replaced a lot of the BS kind of crap on this car. It just goes old and bad and just wears out. But this car is kind of, I mean, it's my baby. It's the third one I've had, and probably the one I'm gonna keep. I don't really ever see myself selling this car. Story how I got this car. It was never actually listed for sale. I made a want to buy post on Facebook and Craigslist, and this guy, the only one I actually got from Craigslist was this car. A guy on Craigslist messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I got a silver on black M3 sedan, manual swap car." So this car has a lot of miles and it's a manual swap. It's one of the reasons I bought it, because when I bought it, it had full documentation of the manual swap, so clutch sleeve, throwout bearing, a lot of the shifter linkage, all that good stuff. So I figured it was kind of like part of the car's already sorted. But I got there, and I remember I looked at it. I was unsure because I really wanted like blue or green, like an interesting color, like silver. Like, I like silver, but it was kind of like my other two were silver, and I kind of wanted to change. But when I got there, I saw the car, and it just felt right. So that was actually, I test drove this car on my birthday, which is nice because it was in the middle of COVID and no one was really going anywhere. It was the first time I left the house in like a month. A really, really good birthday present to myself. And I didn't buy it on the spot. I'd like to say I did. I wish I did, but I didn't. I took another month. I kept looking, and I'm like, you know what? That is the best I can do. I bought it for $6 grand. I didn't bother negotiating the guy. I'm like, he seemed kind of like he was firm. I'm like, this car is friggin' nice. It's a nice car. I mean, yeah, it's honestly a survivor, which is surprising given the mileage. But a lot of the E36s, the interiors are falling apart. Everything, they've been, lots of hack jobs, the wiring and everything. This car was bone stock when I got it. Like, it hadn't been touched. Besides a couple things, it did have iBox sway bars when I bought it, which was weird. I think at some point it might have had suspension mods into it, and then it was undone when I'm guessing a car got sold at some point. I don't really know, but the iBox sway bars are nice. The steering feels really good. But not a lot of body roll. And to go into that, my suspension, I have an X brace as well, which I don't think I mentioned earlier. I don't know. I've started to do a lot of the enthusiast mods that one would do to an E36. Because when I bought this car, I told myself, I'm like, I'm gonna leave it stock. I'm gonna leave it stock. And then I started driving it, like, man, it sucks stock. So I started modding it. As a lot of car people do. But yeah, that's my car. Not a lot to say about it. There's some little things I still need to do. I still need to rear end suspension. What else? rear end suspension. I need to do a couple little things to the exterior that I kind of want to sort, but it's pretty much where I want it. Eventually, I'm gonna go the full engine rebuild and do cams, ported head, just do all that good stuff. But it's fine how it is, just right now. I like it. And to segue, one of my old cars is with us right now.
So I'm Connor. I drive the Coupe E36 M3. As you probably guessed by now, this is actually one of Sonny's old cars because doesn't know how to not crash them. This one in specific actually went into a flower van, and we like to make fun of him for that. I recently just got this car just about a month ago, and past owner, because there's a year gap between when Sonny owned it and when I owned it with this owner, as we'll call him. He didn't treat the car the best, and when I got it, it was in much worse shape than when Sonny had it, given that he did crash it. But right now, the next thing on the docket for this car is making sure that the bumper gets repaired. Right now, there's just some small chipping in the on the front splitter, and a piece of it is broken off, and I can't mount fog lights properly because of that. So just a lot of things, odds and ends that aren't exactly complete with this car. I just redid the sunroof panel and got a new sunroof motor in and working. So just a lot of things like that. But as for why I bought the car, it's got a lot going for it. Just for starters, I've got full poly bushings, everything except for the engine and trans mounts redone. I've got a Mishimoto radiator and with the electronic fan control switch in the console, which is kind of a pain, but you know. And overall, the car runs really well. It's got 146,000 miles on it, about to roll over to 147. This car is very important to both Sonny and I. We want to see it restored back to how it was when Sonny had it, and we both think that we can do that. My plans for this car specifically are a wrap in terms of the color change of the car. I'd like it to be something similar to the Calypso red on earlier 36 M3s. It's kind of a rare color, and it's a nice and deep red. I really like the color. I think the car will look really good with it. And we're gonna try and do some of the wrapping ourselves, see how that goes. So you guys might see a video on that. Overall, I think that this is just a good car for me to own, something that's a good experience in learning how to work on and maintain cars, learning how to drive stick. I've never driven a stick car more than 20 minutes at a time before I owned this thing, and that actually leads into an interesting story about how we got this car back. On the way home, we ran into a couple issues. So this car never actually started with a for sale ad. I just direct messaged the seller and asked him if he would take a cash offer for it, which he agreed to under the pretense that the car was in the same state that it was when he fixed it from the crash. So in the crash, just as a little side note, so the passenger side quarter panel and the front left fender, so no major structural damage, no frame damage, just purely cosmetic, and all just needed to be fixed. Nothing that was a big deal. So I made him an offer for cash on the car under the pretense that it was in that shape. So he agreed to my initial cash offer and a date about a week out from when I texted him, and thought, great. He lived in a different state than I do, so it's about a 4-hour drive for me to get there. Which you know, it's not a small trip. It's 8 hours round trip. That's a day trip. So we made the trip out there, and little did we know, the bumper had been completely destroyed. Or not completely destroyed, I shouldn't say that, but it was not in perfect condition. It wasn't even in a condition where you can say that the car would look good if it was kept like that forever. It needed to be fixed, and mind you, he hadn't told me anything about this. This was my first time seeing the bumper, and all the pictures he sent me of the car, the bumper looks fine, no issues with it at all. So we get down there, and I see that, and obviously I took some cash off my original offer, and he didn't take it, and I walked away, drove 4 hours back home without my new car. And after a little bit, me and Sonny were thinking about it and did some more research on the market, realized it might have had a little more value than what we thought it did, in that in purchasing it, it wouldn't have been a huge, it might not have been a deal per se, but it was still correctly valued and made sense for what the car was. So I texted him again, got him on the phone, and said, hey, listen, if you drop it $200 like you said you would and drive the car halfway, I'll buy it from you. And he agreed to that. We met up halfway, and I drove it back. And you'd think that's where the story ends, but it sure isn't, because this is a BMW. We started our drive home, and we noticed that one of the pulleys was squeaking, which, you know, it's not a big deal. It's a piece of maintenance that has to be done, but a pulley isn't expensive, and nothing should have come of it. Well, what that was actually indicating was bolts backing off of my power steering pump. And when those bolts fully backed off, the power steering pump was dropped, and it snapped the serpentine belt. Well, that's strange. You can't drive the car, and we were an hour away from where we live. Meanwhile, it's 8 o'clock at night, and both of us have school the next day. We were not in a great situation here. We called our parents, got everything organized with AAA, got the car towed back to my house, and then eventually to a shop, and now I've got it, and am driving it today. Haven't had any issues with it since. Just one check engine light that was old codes that we cleared, and haven't seen them since. So that's kind of where we're at with our cars, what we plan on doing, and hopefully you'll come along and see us build these cars and make them into our own. Alright, so we're about to hop on the highway here, and I'm going to do a quick pull. As you can see, my windows not cooperating with me. I've got some people in front of me, so I got to